Hi guys, Dave here for Brighton & Hove Guitar Lessons. Today we're looking at the Eagles Hotel California. What I just played you was the Don Felder solo, which we're going to be looking at in this lesson. That's lesson 1. And then in the next lessons we'll look at the Joe Walsh part, the harmonise part at the end, and then a follow-up lesson, I think, which is going to be on how we can take some ideas away from the Eagles and how they use note placement and how we can kind of put that into our own playing. So, without further ado, grab your guitar, let's get stuck into this solo. Okay, so if you're ready to begin, the first thing I want to say is why I'm doing this lesson in the first place. There's a couple of reasons why I've been teaching this to a lot of my students recently, and we've all got a lot out of it. But when I was looking around online to double check my own transcription work, I found a few different interpretations of the solos. Not so much this one that we're looking at now, but certainly later on. And also a lot of people seem to do kind of the solos as if it was one person. I mean, they're aware that there are two people playing, but they kind of teach it to you as if, you know, you're just one guitarist and kind of a bit of a best of both worlds approach. And so I wanted to take an opportunity to look at both guitar parts completely separately and teach them both completely in their entirety, and then you can take them away, and if you're in a two guitar band you can actually learn how to do both together, or ideally you want to learn both anyway because you as an individual will take a huge amount away from understanding both, and they both have quite different styles. So a couple of things I want to talk about before we begin. Number one, most of what we're going to be doing is based around the B minor pentatonic. So if you are completely new to the B minor pentatonic, maybe just go away and spend a week working on B minor pentatonic before you try this, because it's going to make picking up the phrases so much easier. But hopefully you're not completely new to it. Most of what we're going to be doing is in this region. We're going to be doing B minor pentatonic shape 1, and shape 2 as well. So I would recommend that you just familiarise yourself with those very, very quickly now if you haven't gone through them for a little while. So that's the first thing. Maybe just run through shape 1 and shape 2. Particularly you'll need more than that for the next video, but for this one it's mostly shape 1. The second thing we should talk about is string bending technique. So string bending is perpetually a problem for all guitar students, and it's kind of one of those things where I can tell you lots about how to do it or how I do it, but you do sort of have to find your own way, because I find that even though I tell students how to do it, they don't really understand it until they can do it, if that makes sense. So I'm going to try and give you a couple of hints that have worked well for me in the past. Number one, we're going to be looking at all kinds of bends in this. We've got semitone bends. So a semitone bend, hopefully you know what that is already, but we're just playing a note and then we're playing the note above. So that's a semitone bend. That's a tone bend. So that's a little bit harder. We have a couple of tone and a half bends. And even at one point, do we have a two-tone bend? So I will kind of point them out as we go, but it's really important that you kind of have an understanding already of how to do those. So if you're completely new to bending, it's going to take a little bit of practice. There's no two ways about that. But a couple of cues that have worked really well for me in the past. I tend to bend always with my thumb over the top. And try to remember first and foremost that when we're string bending, we're not using our fingers. We're not straightening our fingers to get the string bend. Beginners always do this. They always push their fingers up straight. And if you're still doing that, then that's probably the reason that your bends sound weak, or that you're struggling to kind of articulate them properly. So the first thing we want to look at is a kind of a wrist turning. Okay, so for me it works really well to have my thumb over the top, like I said, and I'm kind of thinking about turning my wrist up and gripping the guitar underneath with my index finger, gripping with my thumb over the top. So I'm kind of clamping there, and there's a turning motion here where I'm forcing my hand against the side of the neck of the guitar to get my string bends to sound, instead of just pushing them up with my fingers. Your fingers are not really strong enough to get good, strong sounding bends, unless you're Stevie Ray Vaughan, maybe, who had the strongest fingers of all time. The other thing I want to say is another cue that you can take away for practicing your bends is try to imagine that instead of kind of you're pulling the string up, imagine that your fingers are diving into the fretboard, kind of like if you imagine like a dolphin coming out of the sea and then going into the sea and coming back up and coming out of the sea again. So imagine that the tips of your fingers are pushing into the fretboard, which obviously they can't do, but that cue is going to teach you to drive the string into the fretboard, and that pressure of you driving it into the fretboard is going to drive it up the fretboard. And the other thing that I think has worked really, really well is try to think about your fingers being at angles, not straight on like this. So I typically have the first knuckle of my index finger kind of against the guitar, and then I have all my 3 fingers in a row, or 2 fingers, whatever I'm doing, in a row, and they're kind of facing, the nails are kind of pointing over at this angle. So not straight up the guitar, because obviously they'd be on a 90-degree angle, but kind of like this, and the nails are kind of facing up like this. And so I'm sort of diving, I'm pushing into the neck, and that's going to force the string up. The other thing is, it's kind of a more advanced technique, but you'll probably see me doing 3-finger supported bends and 2-finger supported bends, and sometimes 1-finger bends. So this was a technique that I didn't really get exposed to until music college, but you tend to find that all the best players play with 3 fingers supporting, like if I'm in Pentatonic Shape 1, for example, you're going to see me doing things like this. So I've got all 3 fingers in a row, and then that was a 1-finger bend there. And then when we move out, so that here we're covering 4 frets, instead of bringing on another finger, to me that's not a very pentatonic style way of playing, because it tends to be quite difficult to do big bends with the little finger. Some people do it, but I don't really do that. So I tend to do 2 fingers here, that sort of style. So I've got 2 fingers over here and then a gap. And so I'm going to be referencing that throughout. So whatever you do that, but that's how I'm going to be approaching it. So I hope those string bending tips helped, and if you're still completely stuck, please leave a comment on this video and I will try and address your problem directly. Okay, so before we take a look at the solo, let's take a look at the chord sequence. This is really important because the solo is beautifully put together over the chords. If you don't know what the chords are, or you're not really thinking about what the chords are, then you're leaving a lot of the lessons that you can get from the solo on the table. So let's not do that. So first of all, we have a B minor chord. Now on the original, it's being played on a guitar with a capo. So I've chosen chord voicings that are at least reasonably close, or will help you to kind of see what's going on in the song. So you obviously could put a capo on, but then you're going to have to take it off to do the solo. So whatever. It's better just to talk about what the chords are. So we have a B minor here. Here at the 7th fret. You can do a little one like that with a ring finger and then a little bar. Or you can do a full one. So that first chord is B minor. And the second chord is F sharp dominant 7. Now on the original, it's played with a B7 shape that you probably know from down here. But we have a capo here on 7, so it's going to play here. Now you can do this shape without a capo. Simply use your ring finger here to block, the B string, so that you get. Okay. Then we have an A. Now again, it's kind of, there's a A sus2 because it's done here. That sort of thing. I don't have the capo, so I can't do it exactly. But an A is absolutely fine for our understanding. So I'd probably just do the A here. Then we're going to go to an E major chord. It's actually an E7. or at least it sometimes is an E7. Then we have a G. Now you can do the G here as a D shape because we are going to be highlighting this note within that D shape, but that's pretty horrible shape to play, isn't it? So, especially if you get it wrong. So, you know, just use an open G for understanding what the chords are. Then we're off to D major. So I would use again here because this is kind of covering the B minor shape 1 that we're using. Then we're going to go to an E minor 7. So that's 7, 9, 7, 8 and 7 on the top. And then we're going to go back to our F sharp dominant 7. So maybe just take a moment just to get your head around the chords. So once again you've got B minor, F sharp 7, A major, E7, G major, D major, E minor 7, F sharp 7. If you don't like this, just do F sharp 7 like this at fret 2. Okay, good. So we're going to go through this lick by lick. So this is the first lick. So first of all, don't do this bit first of all. So there is a big, the solo starts with that, you can never leave, da da da. And that's really cool, right? But that's just a slide from fret 2 on a G string. So start by just doing the slide as a little slide. If you know your pentatonic shape 2, that's where we are. In B minor. So you can kind of just go. So do that one first. You do a little slide. And when you can do the lick, then you just do a bigger slide and practice just. So here we're just doing a tone slide. Now you may, when you're practicing it, you may want to just pick that. But on the record, it actually sounds to me like you just. And we're bending here to the pitch of this D here, so this is a tone and a half bend. So quite a tough bend. So there we are, we're going. So that is sliding from 9 to 11 on the G, then 10 to 12 on the B is a hammer on, and then without picking again, you can pick when you're learning, but it's a hammer on and just immediately bend in reality, up to the pitch of 10 on the top E. Then we're hammering on from 10 to 12 on B, and then off to 9 on G. That brings us immediately into lick 2, which is this one. Sorry, no, this is lick 1, sorry. Okay, so this is all shape 1 of the B minor pentatonic. But there's a guest note here, which is just that major third, because it lands on the F sharp dominant 7 chord. So we're just going and that's what I would consider lick 1. So once again, and it kind of moves immediately. Actually, like the end of it really has to be this, because there's no gap there, so we can't really put a gap. So here we're going from 9 to 12 on the D string, and this is just play and pick once, hammer off, hammer on, hammer off, sorry, slide back to 7, and we're doing a tone bend there. Sorry, semitone bend, just like that. When I do that semitone bend, rightly or wrongly, to me it feels right to kind of do it with this like sort of bluesy pull down. So here I'm actually using more like the inside edge of this finger and just pulling down. Again, use that wrist technique I was talking about at the beginning. So pull and then just slide off. Okay, so lick 2 then. This time we're within pentatonic box 1 again, and we're doing it over an A chord. So we're going. So that's the first bit there. Okay, so here we're doing 7 to 9 as a hammer on. We're coming to 7 on the B, back to 7 on the G, and then we've got 9, 8, 9 on the D. So that's... And then we're going to do almost exactly the same lick again. We're going to go 7, 9, but this time we're going to go... So we're going from 9 to 7, 9 to 7. So that's lick 2. So we go... Okay, and I'm basically alternate picking pretty much all of this unless I say otherwise. And then we have, over this E chord, we've got this next lick 3, which goes like this. So again, this is pentatonic, B minor pentatonic shape 1. So look, I've got my 3 fingers here marking 8, 9, 10. And then what I'm doing is I'm doing an oblique bend. So I'm picking up and I'm playing the top E string on the 10th fret without bending. And then I'm doing a pre-bend and coming off to my finger on 7. So you're going to need to practice that. You're going to need to do this. And then I just reach out my ring finger again, play 10, and then I like to bring my middle finger back here so that I'm doing a 2-finger supported bend for this next semitone. So this note, we've got 2 notes here that are outside of the B minor pentatonic box. And what we're basically doing is we're over that E chord. I think I said D chord at the beginning. It wasn't a D chord, this is an E chord. So we're going from the minor third of the E to the major third of the E. Okay, so that's outside the box. Then we have lick 3, we up to now. Okay, so here again, B minor pentatonic box 1, but we're going 7, 7, 10 bent up, then back to pitch, then bending up and pre-bending and off to 7. And immediately off the back of that we have this. So then we're doing 10, bending up, reaching out to 10, pick and release, off to 8, and then we're going 9 here, again pentatonic box 1. So here we're doing another oblique bend, so we're bending up, reaching out the little finger to fret 10 on the top E, pick and release, and then here we've got again additional notes. Okay, so here we're going from D down to C sharp and back to D again. Okay, and that is over, where are we now? So that's over that D chord there. And then the next lick is this. Now, I like to do this as a 1-finger bend. So I'm just taking 1 finger and kind of turning it up. It's a semitone bend. So. And I suppose I like doing that because it's within pentatonic box 1, but basically you can do whatever you like. Obviously if you prefer, that's the same thing, but to me I just sits my playing style better. And then we're up to the last lick of this part of the solo part 1. So we've got over the F sharp dominant 7 chord. Okay, so that is just a bend here. We're doing a tone bend, and that's to the pitch of this note. So you know that from kind of lots of classic rock and roll solos. This is kind of pentatonic 101, bending here, and then reaching out with the little finger, and then bending and playing on the same string. So here we're going. So that is, and just pull off and then pick and sort of slowly bend. Okay, so that concludes the Don Felder solo. I will chapter link all of that. Thank you so much for watching. Coming up next is the Joe Walsh solo. Oh, I haven't even said, I will put in a couple of run-throughs at a slower pace after this. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and please let me know if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, anything that kind of occurs to you. Catch you next time. See you soon. Bye.